So this is a good segue to my next segment of what I love talking about on this show is how you got into this, but not necessarily in this particular business. I'm talking about your life experiences growing up. When was the first time you discovered that you were attracted to complexities and then solving problems? And what was that? What
Yeah,
was
I was always really good at math. And my family really, it was not their strong suit. I come from a family of lifeguards, and my dad was an LA County lifeguard. He was incredibly good at English. He was an English major, and I would come home and he could not help me with my homework. Or actually, no, it wasn't that. It was mostly that we just had exact opposite ways of thinking in terms of the way that my homework would be. So it actually worked out somewhat well, because for things like English class and papers, he was really good at it. He could help me, and I had trouble writing long papers. Like, I couldn't write. I would always get dinged for my papers being too short. Like, it would be a 10-page minimum, and I'd turn in like a 3.5-page paper. I'm like, these are all my thoughts. Like, I got them down. Like, I got to the point. But math, I was always a class or two ahead of my grade, and it was always really easy for me. And I, growing up for a while, I thought I wanted to be a lifeguard like my family, but then wound up deciding to get into business purely just because I like to look at numbers. I like to analyze data. I like to have it tell me stories. And honestly, digital marketing was a super easy avenue for me, just because I always figure if you can arrange numbers in enough different ways, you can always figure out a problem. And I like when there are definitive solutions to things.
so when you realized that this was the case for you,
I mean, I
was it?
always knew that math was good, but sorry, keep going.
Yeah. So I mean, was that? How was that received by your dad and by the family?
Well, they're incredibly supportive. I think it's great. They still don't fully understand it, but they were always really supportive of it. I think that, like, they know that lifeguarding was an incredibly it's one of the most respectable jobs in my eyes that I can think of. It's also very dangerous. I think that, my dad was incredibly stressed out about his work a lot of the time. And for me, I hit a point where I didn't want to have other people's ultimately lives in my hand. And I obviously have a ton of respect for people who do, but I think my family was happy to see me do something that allowed me to work remote, allowed me to travel. They found it really interesting learning about something that they had really no insight into. So they find it all incredibly interesting, and they're super supportive about it.